Right. Hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny, actually it was a bit rainy this morning, San Diego. And today I am delighted to be joined from, as they like to say here, across the pond in the UK by Matthew Hill, who is in Tooting, a very historic part of London. How are you doing, Matthew?
There you go. There you go. Great to be with you. Great to be with you. I love your show, John.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And Matthew, your career has spanned corporate boardrooms, global classrooms, even stand-up comedy stages. Excellent. And you bring a rare blend of wit, warmth, and wisdom to the art of communications. You've trained teams from EY to GE Capital, and your sessions are very energizing. They're very applied, always action orientated, like flipping limiting beliefs, taking the I could never and turning it into the watch me do it. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is unleashing sales success through powerful communication. But we're going to, this time, instead of giving you some grand methodology, we're going to talk about maybe incremental changes and sort of ones you can do on the margin that kind of outsized impacts. So Matthew, what do you think is the number one issue that people have with effective communication?
Very good. I think they're talking rather than listening. They're using this big one, not these two small ones. And people are not listening for values. I've seen a lot of your work, and you talk about authenticity. This next thing might not sound as authentic as it might be. People are not listening for people's values, their drivers and fears. They're talking, presenting, telling, self-centered, product-centered, fact-centered. We all know this, but there's an opportunity to just listen to any conversation and find someone's values. There's some wonderful exercise you can do. We won't do it now, John, but there we go. If you just talk about your favorite teacher or your least favorite boss, you will give away what's important to you.
Yeah.
Then the second trick is to change your language to reflect that person's values, drivers, fears, hopes, and aspirations. It's so simple once you know how. I don't know, 1% of the population seem to be doing it. Everyone could start that tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think what's fascinating, Matthew, is that it's so counterculture today to actually actively listen, because we're always distracted. I mean, how many times have you had that? This is my pet peeve. How many times have you had this? And it's become socially acceptable. You're having a conversation with somebody, their phone buzzes, they look down, read the message, and then look back up and rejoin the conversation, and you're just like, hello. I mean, how rude is that? But that's become commonplace. And I think, to your point, is when people engage, they're not listening because they're not tuned in. They're not tuned in 100%.
The most scarce resource in California or somewhere else is attention. It's not even time. It's gone from that. You used to post. I love your long form stuff. I mean, it's relatively short, but it's I think it's long form for YouTube, isn't it? Where, oh no, it's 5 minutes. I won't start that video.
Yeah.
It is scary. If someone got up and went for a pee whilst in the middle of your talk, you would be fairly annoyed. But to do that seems to be mutually acceptable.
Yeah, and why is it that active listening has become so difficult for people? I mean, it is distraction and that, but it's also I don't think people are taught anymore how to do it.
They're not taught to know how to do it, and they're not rewarded for it. I mean, in sales, we're in the sales universe, directly and indirectly. People are taught to compete. It's alpha world. Even with this new don't be a man, don't be alpha. Everyone is trying to story top. Everyone thinks they're a stand-up comedian. Some of us are. And it's a tough old game. There's story topping. I went for 1 week in Mallorca. I went for 2 weeks in Majorca, where the water don't taste like what it ought. And it's stop story topping. Just be authentic. Just go to that next level. Tell me more. When you feel like competing next time, stop yourself and say, "Oh, tell me more."
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with you, and it's funny the way people have are adopting personas that aren't themselves, and I just find that's why I always quote Oscar Wilde, "My compatriot who says, 'Be yourself,' because everyone else is taken,"
Yeah.
and I think that there's such wisdom in that, because I mean, if you can't be authentic and have a persona at the same time, and the other part is, you're correct, is we have this casual culture where people think that they have to try and be funny or wacky or a little bit different in how they approach things, and most of the time you're just going, no, can we just have a conversation?
And John, you recognise it. The stretch for instant perfection is phony, and people get it.
Hmm.
When you get an authentic moment, you go, "Hello," the bell goes off.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say to people, I don't trust experts who know everything. I trust experts who will tell me when they don't know something.
I was doing this yesterday. We had a presentations gig with the second largest French fund.
Hmm.
Have the kahunas to say, "I don't know."
Yeah.
It's amazing. It changes the energy in the room.
It is, and that's amazing, isn't it, Matthew? That is something that, people struggle with. You can hear somebody like when they're having a conversation, say a sales conversation, and they're asked something they don't know. They suddenly start this dramatic dance, and like they're trying to kind of move the conversation, instead of just saying exactly as you said, just saying, "I don't know. I can
Well, here's
find that out for you." But
no, exactly. Or before that, I quite like a top tip. Once met the most powerful man in the world, not that one, the other one. And that was meant to be an expert briefing them. And I gave myself a lovely opt out, which I then used. If I know the answer, I'll tell it to you. And if I don't know the answer, I can probably find it out. And
yeah.
then we just all relaxed a bit. I think, and then he gave me some killer after 2 hours. And I hadn't a clue. Yes, well, luckily I'd played that card. Get out of jail free. Yeah, I'll look that up for you. Come back to you. All right.
Yeah, and that's authentic and genuine. That's how you operate in life, right? I mean, in the rest of your life, you operate like that. If you don't know something, you don't pretend to know. Normally you go off and figure it out. But then it comes to these business situations, we feel like we have to be like 100%, or omniscient.
No, very good. I'm paid the money. I've got the title. I've got to come back with a deal or not come back at all.
Mhm.
You know the airport trade. You do something so risky. You go to you overpromised. You
Yeah.
overpromised your own performance. So you do it fairly near the airport. So if it doesn't go right, take your passport with you straight on a plane.
That's funny. And yeah, I wish I'd have known that in the past. Actually, that would have been a good one.
Always passport, people.
Always have your passport, credit card, and ready to get out of the country fast. Um, no, it's excellent. But how have you seen communication impacted? Because we're so used to texting, we're so used to digital, we're supposed to the people communicate. I feel people are losing the ability to communicate. We said like active listening, but even talking and asking good questions, that's people
Yeah.
seem to have lost that art too.
No, totally, totally, totally. And just the leverage of a question or a good debate. I tell you what, people in your community, listeners, viewers, just work out how many people are great conversations. Who could you go to the pub with? Slightly different in California,
Yep.
the beach, with a smoothie made with vegetables.
Yeah.
How many people could you genuinely have a really nice, slow exchange of the talking stick with? You get plenty of time. They get plenty of time. It comes back to you. It's hard work. We're sound biting. We're doing some other stuff. Now, having said that, COVID I think has done us a bit of a favour with the long form, with the webinar. So I don't know. Maybe the pendulum might swing with middle-aged men, at least, in the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a really good point that you just said about like who could you have a decent conversation with, and then maybe ask yourself follow-up question: Am I that person? Am I somebody that somebody else would pick to come to their conversation group? And if you're honest with yourself and you go, well, maybe not, then something you can work on.
Yes, it was the other way around, isn't it? Are you that person that people avoid? Yeah, look for the signs, peeps.
Mhm.
Look for the signs.
Yeah, yeah. So when you work with people, what are some of the other ways that you help them? Like some of the simple ways that you help them improve their communication.
Well, again, let's just riff on this in terms of who's in the room and what
Yeah.
are they. Well, there's some. If we just draw back a bit, taking from the intercultural world,
Hmm.
there are dimensions, and you can be on one side or the other. And let's just go through maybe one or two. So the deductive. Again, I had a French client yesterday. So those guys are the famous deductive people. They're not Americans. They're not hand to brain directional accuracy. Let's get started. Have you done 100 things yet? It's 10 o'clock. They are, wait, context, rules, background. Here we go. So again, you can easily find that out and not ram them down the wrong road, not give them the wrong message, which is going to irritate them. Another one, just I want to keep it fairly simple. I do a webinar with Indians in Bangalore.
Hmm.
And I'll say, so after this webinar, if I give you my bank details, will you give me $10? What do they not say? No. They'll say anything else but no.
Right.
That is a cultural idea. So you can learn in terms of, you can generalize and say it's quite likely that someone from Bangalore is going to suffer to say no. And that's about your face, respect for you, and dignity. And someone in France is not going to say yes.
Yeah.
They're going to say no. They're going to make it. I said this. What's the two-letter word? And I didn't get anywhere. Of course, in French, it's a three-letter word.
Yes. Yes.
No.
No.
And what does a French no mean? So I asked a guy, a genuine Parisian, yesterday. He goes, well, you need to convince me. So
Yeah.
no does not mean no, and yes does not mean yes. If you know that, sales success in India and France, and also Russia. Russia would have sort of no means, come back in 5 minutes. No does not mean no. So that's an idea. Or we have this sort of concept of a peach or a coconut. Are people being fairly arsy and difficult with you because it's just a cultural norm for them?
Right.
I had an Israeli client who was pretty tricky, giving me when I lived in Prague, gave me such a hard time. I thought he was going to, I don't know, do something fairly nasty. Then when I broke through, and to be fair, started
Yeah.
performing, let's be honest and
Mhm.
vulnerable, he hugged me and I thought, here we go. I think he was in various services before that. He couldn't have been more kind and facilitating the future. So the coconut culture is you're on the outside till you're on the inside.
Right.
If you know that, you can manage your journey. The peach culture, hello, America, instantly lovely. Hi, I'm your waiter for this evening. These are the specials. I'm not getting paid. Give me 20%.
Mhm.
And you have a different idea. So again, getting armed with what we might call generalizations, which we can associate with regions, but we shouldn't stereotype because that will
Mhm.
blow up in your face.
Yep.
That can really help. And if you tell a few jokes or collect a few stories about that, that can really save you. The stereotypes are fairly handy. If you fly to Japan, are they going to be nice to you? Stereotype, yeah,
Yeah.
go with it. Start with that, but be mindful that it might not be the individual in front of you. So do a bit of intercultural homework on the country. Listen for the values. Understand how many people haven't a clue what the company does, who they're talking to.
Mhm.
I saw one of your wonderful webinars about, what did you say? Lovely post or whatever. That idiot hasn't read it.
Yeah.
Do the homework.
Yeah.
Do the due diligence, do the investigation, come back with something authentic. So we're aiming to get to this level of trusted advisor.
Yep.
John, you got that bit wrong. Do that
Mm.
cold, they'll hate you forever. Do that warm, do that hot. Thank you, mate. No one's told me that.
Yeah, this is great, Matthew, because like you said, I mean, cultural differences and all of that.
Yeah.
We also have generational differences.
Yes.
We have,
Yes.
and people like to be communicated with in different ways. You have personality types as well, and this is where,
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen a situation where somebody is trying to sell to a very analytical person and they're doing the 30,000 feet like yo rah rah pitch, and the analytical person is just blank because this is
That
not what I want.
was me.
Oh yeah.
Well, I went to a famous Swiss bank. There's only one now. Yeah. There's been a tough time in Switzerland, and I was doing the more whoopy I was going, the more irritating this analytical was, and I didn't get it. And then someone gave me the training, the training, John, and I thought, bingo, light goes on, and you're meeting your kryptonite person, and that you are their kryptonite, they are your kryptonite. You've got to get over it. You've got to
Yeah.
get over it. If you are a raw meat eater, and oh, sorry, your audience is a raw meat eater, get to the point, not whoopee whoopee, no hairdresser chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a social networking superfly, a butterfly, then it's who do you know in that area or
Mhm.
whatever. If you're an analytical, send them an Excel and wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so important. It is so important now. And the other thing, as I said, Matthew, we have intergenerational communication now,
Yes.
and that can be quite interesting, especially when you have people, and it's not reserved just for the younger people. But you have people who now just want to hide behind texts and digital. They don't want to have, and
They
you
don't
have to
have a
kind of
phone call.
draw them out.
I don't, but I love a 27-year-old. They are, I mean, compared with you or me, I was speaking on your, but I was a moron when I was 27. I was ignorant moron. The guys have had so much input. So
Mhm.
they're so much more mature. Now, they're fairly corrupted by the mainstream
Mm,
narrative. They don't
yeah.
understand the word heterodoxy, but that's where I come in. That's
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
come, which is the constructive challenge. And when you do the constructive challenge with a 20-something or a 30-something,
Mhm.
low 30s, it's so exciting. They've never had it, and they give you what for, and they know
Yeah,
what they're talking about half the time.
yeah.
Maybe
Well,
maybe 60% of the time.
yeah, well, good news for me is, I mean, I can't say I was a moron when I was in my 20s because I can't really remember that.
If you remember the 80s, you weren't even
You
there.
weren't even there. Exactly. Exactly. And it is but it is interesting now that you have to kind of draw people out, and you have to really,
Yeah,
it's become so much more complicated. And I think this is true for leaders and organizations now.
yeah.
Once upon a time, a leader could like blast out a communication. Now they have to look at their different audiences, the way people receive information, and you have to communicate in multiple different ways if you want to hit your audience.
Now, I tell you what, I was doing a whole year's management development course about communication and other
Mhm.
things. Half of them were self described as reflectors. And just this sort of conversation we're having now. So I'd
Yeah,
say, John, what do you think about this? Was a source of pain to these guys. And I'm thinking, okay, that which is fine.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was a management course. In the world of management, you have to have a real time and agile response.
Yeah,
Come on, guys, the bell's ringing.
yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it is. And I think that's part of it is we live in a strange world now where people don't want to make choices. They don't
Yes.
want to, they don't really want to commit to anything. They become very commitment averse, decision averse, all of that. So it is complicated.
It is complicated. We have a training for that. Problem solving and decision making. Give us a call.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's quite funny. I have some weird courses that I've developed. Speed reading. When I
Mm,
do that, I get faster. Memory recall, which I need to teach that every week because I get sort of it decays.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is amazing. So yeah, teach what you need to learn.
Yeah, exactly. We're all at that stage now where we go downstairs, walk into the kitchen,
Yeah,
and then stand there and go, "Why am I here?"
there was a reason, but it's gone.
Yeah, but it's long gone. um, and just a final tip for people, Matthew.
What do you got? So to me, it's marginal gains. You've got your listening, you've
Mhm.
got your speaking, and trust building. Trust building. I'd say. I mean, you talked about the lost generation or the
Yeah.
generation gap. Build the pennies of trust by letting people experiment, asking them challenging questions, and really building up a reserve so that they become an expert in whatever it is, and the positive reinforcement of that. My challenge to everyone is to have their teams be 8 out of 10 in terms of quality and comfort with challenge. That will
Mm.
revolutionize any department. It will revolutionize any company and get over some of the things we've talked about.
Yeah, no, that's a great point because I mean, it's when there are challenges is when you really see, when you really see the type of people you have, the type of organization you have, the type of leadership you have. I mean, and I think yeah, that's an area if you can start to co-opt people into say, when we're facing a challenge, we're facing it together, and now what can you contribute to the solution?
Absolutely. A crisis like collaboration is a real thing. And that can be a beautiful bonding experience, especially when people only drag themselves into the office 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have all that coffee pot whinging,
Yeah.
water bottle whinging, or social, what is it called? Competitive social events have diminished somewhat
Yeah.
as everyone wants to get away early.
Yeah, the only caveat I would say is I did work for an organization one time where the executive team were fantastic at crisis management. They were not very good at actually fixing the stuff that led to the crises. So the crises came up every so often, but they were great when the crisis was there.
I think those guys had a bit too much adrenaline.
Yeah. Maybe a bit too much to drink too, but there you go.
Liquid leadership.
Liquid leadership. All right. Well, listen, Matthew, this has been fantastic. All of Matthew's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people what you do.
I wish I knew. Presentation skills for individuals and groups. So you're pitching, you're communicating, you're building longer term and satisfying relationships and profitable relationships with your customers and clients and finding those people. And you're networking like a good one. So give us a shout if you need some help with that.
Yeah, I would encourage you to reach out. Here's the great news for you if you're listening out there is that the bar is so low right now. I honestly believe on communication skills, on how people show up, that if you go and invest a little bit of time and effort, check out what Matthew does, but invest a little time and effort, you'll be amazed how you will stand out. Honestly, it's incredible. If you communicate well, if you're polite, if you engage properly, if you listen, I mean, you're going to stand out.
Well, I tell you, I've got a post that's just come out on Facebook, which is one more sentence. So tomorrow, folks, from when you've listened to this or watched this or whatever, add a sentence to every transaction. You'll be amazed at what happens. And by the end of the month, you will either be in prison or you'll be richer.
So wherever you do this, choose wisely, right? Choose wisely. Make sure it's a place that can reward you financially, or a place where the prisons aren't so bad.
No, exactly. 3 meals a day.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Matthew. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see you all again soon.
Thanks, John.